Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast, the morning edition. We're actually recording this like on a Monday still, but before 5:30. We just filmed our main event for you guys, and I was drinking coffee, which never happens except for one other time. So a little bit different to be doing this in the middle of the day, but some things stay the same. Like Travis Ross joining me from Make Your Mark Design in Broomfield, Colorado. So the more things change, the more they will always stay the same. So Travis, happy Monday. I know we're only a couple hours into your Monday, so there's nothing really to recap about. Did the machines go down? Did people not show up? So it's probably the best Monday update that we'll ever have on this show. But how's your day going so far? How was your weekend? What's the haps, as the kids say?
Weekend was fun. We there was a beer or a brew fest in our town, and so we went to a brew fest on Saturday and had a really great time. And it was a nice weekend. The couple of the coolest things that happened were my Arsenal won. They beat Tottenham, which
nice.
Tottenham's like our biggest rival. So we won 3-1 and it was a great win.
Nice.
And then the Chiefs won last night. So now that I've isolated half of our audience because they hate the Chiefs and they hate Arsenal, we can move on. But for me personally, it was a great weekend. I mean, that was a lot of fun watching those games. And how was your weekend?
Pretty low key. Saturday we were home recently for my brother-in-law's celebration of life service, and while we were there, my mom was like, "Hey, I have some bins of yours just with childhood stuff that she collected or has kept from my childhood." I was the youngest, I was the only boy, and so I was 10 years separated from my oldest sister that's closest in age. So I was spoiled quite a bit as a child, and my mom kept everything. So there was literally like, I don't know, 8 to 10 just totes filled with books from when I was a kid and the toys and stuffed animals and like old school vintage Disney stuffed animals and VHS tapes, probably like 50 old school Disney VHS tapes, and over probably 75 of those golden books that were really popular back in the day. So all of that, all a Cabbage Patch Kids. I mean, everything that I ever possibly
wait a second.
touched as a child.
Cabbage Patch Kids.
I was given a Cabbage Patch doll when I was like, I think 2 maybe as a gift, like or 3. So that was in there. So, and then like yearbooks from high school and posters from my college theater days, because we used to hang up posters in the back stage area, and everyone would sign your poster. The cast would sign your poster and say nice things and all that kind of stuff. So all of those. So this weekend we had to rearrange our storage facility that we have here under the house. Our landlord gave us some storage space. Had to go away and rearrange all of that. Put the Christmas stuff up front because Madeline's going to decorate for Christmas in less than a month. As soon as November 1st hits, Christmas is in our house. So I got those readily accessible. Slayed a couple black widows, sprayed a lot of spider egg nests, all the things. And spiders are my one non-negotiable. Like, I hate them. I do not enjoy spiders. So I told her, like, if at any moment I spray this nest and baby spiders come crawling out, I'm burning everything. And I'll have nothing from my childhood, and our kid will have nothing when it's born from me as a keepsake. It's all over.
That's funny.
So yeah, did that, organized, took stuff to not Salvation Army, Goodwill. And so that was pretty much it. And then Sunday, yesterday, went to church for the first time in 2.5 weeks because I was gone for so long. So that was good to be there. And the Bills won their game, so I'm very happy about that. So we're talking about, for you for those listening, inevitably, hopefully, the scenario is that it's a rematch.
We'll never do it
from the AFC Championship game, Bills Chiefs, and I'm pulling for the Bills. Travis obviously is bleeds red and yellow. So
mostly red.
Mostly red. Yeah, if you're bleeding yellow,
that's a different issue.
Yeah, it's not good. So anyway, overall, good weekend, and excited to talk to or bring this main event to the folks here on the Print on Demand cast. Really cool interview. We're recording in the morning because our guest is in Oslo, I don't know how you pronounce it, in Norway. And so the time difference we had to facilitate that a little bit differently. But we're talking to Pål Naess of Gelato. And so just got done wrapping that interview. A lot of cool info about what Gelato can do for you, our listener, who has an Etsy account or an Amazon, whatever that looks like. So Travis, before we kind of throw to that, because it was, I think it's like 45 minutes worth of an interview. So we, as much as we like to waffle, we probably should just do mini waffles today. So what was your take on the interview? We can talk about more about this on the back end too, but overall, I thought it was really, really informative. And I think our listeners are going to be able to take away a lot of cool nuggets and some reasons to join Gelato and have them as a production partner.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Pål and all of the things that he brought to the table. I don't want to give anything away before you've heard the interview, but there are, like you said, there are some really cool nuggets in here. There's some really cool strategies, I guess, that Gelato's put into place to serve their print on demand clients. I think I can leave it at that and just let people kind of listen to the interview, and then we can maybe hit some of our favorite things in the outro.
Yeah, for sure. So with that, let's go to this week's main event.
Main event, who's calling?
All right, Travis, excited for the main event of this episode 111. We have an international guest, which is super cool. I think it's probably only the second time that this has happened, that we have had to record in the morning. I'm drinking coffee while recording the Print on Demand cast, which has only happened one other time, which is incredible. So, but super excited to have Pål Naess of Gelato with us. So just a little bit about Pål before we bring him on. He is Gelato's Senior Vice President of Growth Projects, working with PR, communications, and sustainability. Part of the founding team, Pål was Gelato's COO from 2007 to 2013 when he joined Innovation Norway, the Norwegian government's agency for promoting business growth, in roles such as Norway's Trade Commissioner in Canada and Director of Entrepreneurs and Startups. He has since joined the Gelato team again and is pushing forward to maximize their growth in a sustainable way. I'm so excited to have him on the show and get into the details. Please welcome to the Print on Demand cast, Pål Naess. Pål, thank you so much for taking time to join us here. Thank you so much for coming. How are you?
Thank you. Great to be here. I'm doing great. Evening in Oslo.
Yeah, so you're in Norway right now, correct?
I'm in Oslo, Norway. Absolutely.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, Paul, we've had a little bit of a chance to get to know each other. We had a little pre-production meeting earlier this week, but our audience, they probably know Gelato, but they don't necessarily know about you. And I am excited to hear kind of how Gelato got started and all of that, and some of those questions. But what about you? Tell us about your print-on-demand journey to get us started.
Well, I come from the telecoms industry. I was heading billing and IT in a company called Tele2 Norway. We had a CEO who came in as a 29-year-old saying that, okay, this year we will double the revenue. Of course, a lot of people were skeptical to his belief of doubling the revenue in a year, but we actually did manage to double the revenue in 2 years. That guy, then CEO for Tele2 Norway, he left that company, and Henrik Müller Hansen, which is his name, asked me right after leaving that company if I wanted to join him and start working with print. So the idea was a little bit the same as we had been doing in the telecoms industry. It's building a business where you own the customer, meaning you have all customer contact, all customer details, but where you rent the machines. So when it came to telecoms, it was about not building our own network, but using the networks that were already out there. And it was exactly the same as he was thinking around the around the printing industry back in 2007, using that overcapacity that is out there and building a business.
Okay. So that kind of got you involved. So tell us about like the beginning, like when you guys started in like 2007, was it a really kind of a slow growth? Did you, I'm assuming you guys had a business plan and had big, aspirations, but tell us, kind of peel back the curtain and tell us how it really went in 2007 when you guys started.
Yeah, we'll do. No, as you can imagine, that Henrik had big plans for also for this business, and we did. We started out in Norway, very focused on cards back in the days. So printing on cards, that was kind of the biggest thing we were working on, and then gradually expanding to other countries like Sweden, UK, Germany, France, and just continuing adding countries. Everything was very manual in the beginning. It looked great, we thought, to our customers with a very, very manual back end. So what we were saying is that, okay, it doesn't matter. We can write all these addresses by hand. The day that's a problem, it's a luxury problem, and we will fix it. And I think that's how it started. Us doing a lot of manual work, trying to make it look as good as possible with a customer obsession. It should always be great for the customer. But in the back end, we were doing a lot of work ourselves.
Who were some of your early customers? Like what? Who were you guys actually marketing to and trying to serve?
Well, first of all, it was our parents, my sister, my neighbors, and nice. all of those. And I still vividly remember the day where Henrik and I looked at each other, saying, like, "Do you know this guy?" And that was kind of the first customer who nobody knew. So that was an awesome. Amazing happening. A great day at work. It was private, consumers in these countries, and it was also small businesses. So business cards was a very big thing at the time.
Mm-hmm. How were you marketing? How did you start off obtaining these customers?
Our first big marketing stunt were mail marketing. And as I said, we did a lot of things manually, and we had an idea about if we take our flyer, we fold it, and we put it in envelopes, and we handwrite all these addresses, people will be more likely at opening them. Sure. So we actually sat there and so we were kind of working with the company during the day. We had like customer service doing we didn't do production, but we did all the packing ourselves. And then in the evening, when we came home, late in the evening, we started writing these envelopes. And at some point, we kind of saw that this isn't working. We still had about 1,000 envelopes with addresses that we hadn't sent. Mm-hmm. And we looked at each other saying, like, you know what? This isn't working. We're not getting these sales. Let's just throw them away. that I remember that hurt as well. And then after that, I must say that Google AdWords has been big. So in the beginning, going from SEO, a lot of SEO, and then Google AdWords, and throughout, I would say that paid advertising has been very important to us.
Were you doing like a blog or anything to try to get the organic traffic, or was it specifically just paid ads to a sales page or a sign up here or something like that?
Back in the days, it was typically mostly these direct, you go on a landing page from paid ad, and that's how it would work.
Okay. Cool.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about Gelato, as far as, you know, what there's lots of production companies out there. And like Travis said, our listeners have probably heard of Gelato as an option amongst many. But in your opinion, what kind of separates Gelato and makes it different from other production companies that gives you kind of that competitive edge?
Yeah, I'll do that, but I'll continue my history a little bit. So we were working then with this, focusing very much on printing and on consumers and small businesses. And we started having producers working with production partners in many countries. One day we get a phone call from a large company saying, like, we would like to use your company as our standard for business cards around the world, which of course was a great idea. So instead of business cards being shipped from the headquarters down to wherever the person was sitting, we could print them locally where that worker was sitting. So that was the idea, and that was kind of where Gelato started. So really, instead of sending print material across the planet, you print it where you find your customer. Back then, it was the worker in your company. Today, we are very focused, as I say, on POD for entrepreneurs, for the creators, allowing any e-commerce store in the world to connect to the Gelato network, and using then our network of now 130 production partners in 33 countries. And of course, that makes a big difference, and it's a very big and important difference compared to our competitors. First of all, you will print, of course, on demand. That's the whole point. Yeah. But it's also on location. So if you have a customer, if you sit with a store, I mean, if you run your store in Colorado, if you have a customer in New Zealand, we will produce and ship from New Zealand. And we do the same in 33 countries, but of course, reaching a much larger market than that.
Mm-hmm. So go ahead.
And of course, very important from a sustainability perspective. I mean, that's why I'm
sure.
It's a word that goes again and again in everything we say about Gelato. It's like we want to do this smarter and greener.
Yeah, I would imagine, when you were starting up and you had this opportunity to print these business cards for, this global company, and you had all of these, locations that you needed to find printers in. I imagine that was a pretty tall task. How did you go about finding quality, not just finding a printer that could print it, but also making sure that their quality was up to your standards for this big client? And then how has that evolved over time to now finding print production partners in different countries and different locations and things like that?
Yeah, I can. When we started, Henrik had to speak with 49 printers before he found one who said yes, or one that said yes to working with us. Wow. Extremely skeptical. Of course, they didn't understand what we were doing, and they thought we would steal all their business. What we were doing really is giving them new business. And I think that's the idea, and that's what they understand today. Today, we work very closely with not only the production partners or the printers themselves, but also with the big manufacturers who kind of come and say, here's a suggested partner for you. Here's one. And really, like, for the quality, I mean, we look at the equipment that they have, and we know we have people working with the quality. And I can tell you that coming from the card industry, there's nothing that is as quality, or the quality control is extremely high on a parent who has birth announcements to send out to their 50 of their best friends.
Sure.
So that's something.
Or the wedding announcement. Yeah, the wedding announcement. All of that. You got to make it perfect, or that bride's going to go crazy.
for good reasons, and really that's how it worked from day one. I mean, this is what we grew up with, and obviously the quality today is a completely different one. Our ability of kind of remote controlling these machines as well. So today it's a different life. We're speaking about printing a lot, and of course we evolved from printing, but I mean today we're speaking much more about production on demand. I mean, we're getting into so many other products, as I'm sure we will get to.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good segue to kind of our next question here in the notes. As far as products, how many products does Gelato offer in the catalog? Are they all specific to different or certain regions or locations, or there's some global products? Like, what does that catalog offering look like to someone that's wanting to sign up a new account?
I mean, with the history that we have, of course, paper is the big. I mean, everything that comes with wall art, everything that is cards, big photo books is big. But more and more we're moving into new products. So we have launched apparel, many types of, I mean, everything you can think of when it comes to t-shirt, organic cotton t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies. We have mugs, we have drinking bottles. I mean, more and more products. And one of the benefits, one of the good things about having worked remotely now, I mean, we couldn't travel to the different production partners for such a long time.
Sure.
We have become extremely good at, one, launching new production partners without going there, and two, we become extremely good at launching new products. So we are constantly adding products to our portfolio. We have wallpaper, we have personalized packaging. We're launching, we're launching products all the time these days. So, which is great, of course, both for us and for our customers.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to dive into the weeds a little bit more too about like these production partners, because obviously you have 33 countries. How are you actually having them ship something to your headquarters to kind of make sure that quality is good? Or what is the quality control mechanism when you're so spread out, with your actual, where your production's happening versus your kind of core team there in Norway? How does that work?
The core team is in Norway, but we have people all across the planet. So we try to be very close to our production partners as well. I mean, we have a team now in the US, we have a team in Asia, we have a team, or many teams across Europe. We have a team in Japan and Singapore. So I mean, obviously we try to be close to our production partners, and this is all about a cooperation and really working well together. We can only succeed if they succeed, and we can only make them more efficient if by working closely together. And I think that's another benefit of having done this for 15 years now, is that we kind of have built fantastic tools that just makes the production partners so efficient when working with us. So I think just this cooperation is great. I mean, we see them as our customers, and maybe extremely important customers. Remember also that we bring something new. I said already that we bring new business to them. And a great example that I like to use there is one of our production partners. I think it was in Canada. And when we looked at their business, what we had come with, she had actually been producing for e-commerce stores in 37 countries. So she came from like having produced only for customers who she knew. I mean, where like you get an email, you get a phone call, and then you produce, to now producing for e-commerce stores in 37 countries. And that, of course, is a brand new world for them. And it's exactly the platform that we want to create. Great opportunities on both sides of the Gelato platform.
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned was personalized packaging for some of your customers, and maybe like putting inserts into their packages and things like that, maybe doing some hang tags and different things like that. Is that how have you passed that down to your production partners? Is that a piece of technology, or is that a strategy, or how does that work? Because I'm assuming that most of, or a lot of these production partners don't necessarily do that kind of right out of the box, you have to kind of train them. This is the Gelato way. How does that work?
Well, in this, like for a launch like that, we would typically work very, very closely with a couple of partners in order to kind of launch it, test it, change it, and always make it as efficient as possible. So that's a good example where we would be extremely close to the partner for the launch period. For that one, I mean, we print these on the fly. So, I mean, that's all about like making sure that, again, the packaging or the packing of these parcels needs to be so extremely efficient. We have to be 100% certain that it's the right insert that goes to the right customer. So all these things, there's absolutely no room for error. We have to work extremely close to our partners in order to make this not only working, but also extremely efficient. But I think that's if you remember, I said that in the beginning, we were doing everything except for production ourselves. And we were doing the packaging. And of course, having spent so much time packing ourselves, we know, I shouldn't say we know exactly anymore, but I mean, we know so much about how we can do this better. And how do we avoid errors? How do we make sure we have a quality control in what we do? And how do we follow up? So again, one way of doing this and working this so well with our production partners is giving them fully control. So, I mean, we like to give them, we give them a system so that over the phone, they have 100% control over everything that Gelato is bringing to them when it comes to production. It's kind of the remote control of the whole production center.
It's almost, it reminds me a little bit of almost like a franchise model, where you have all of the systems, you have, and you're going to need this many square feet, in your facility to house this, these labels or these packing materials or whatever, and kind of setting it out like that. So there's a relatively high percentage of success, because I can imagine at the same time, there's probably some horror stories along the years, where it hasn't quite gone as well as you had hoped. And maybe you had to fire a production partner because they just couldn't kind of, but you learn from that. And then you put together those systems. And would you say that's fair to say that it's almost like a franchise model, or is that overly simplifying it?
No, I see why you say that. And I think more than a franchise model, it's an extreme partnership and production partner. I mean, the word partner is just so important to us, and seeing like making them succeed has to be our priority as well.
Yeah.
And of course, we've had episodes throughout these years, episodes that we would happily live without. Wrong customers, of course, being one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna ask you about a terrible, something terrible that happened in your business.
One of those episodes.
Yeah. We're gonna save that. You mentioned in our
awesome.
pre-production meeting about. And you've talked a lot about how you have all these different production partners, but you talked in our meeting about our listeners expanding overseas. And I'm just wondering if you could maybe share, in your opinion, what's the best way to do that? Because a lot of our listeners are probably selling most of their items in the US, and maybe they get the occasional Canadian sale or Australian sale or whatever, and they just kind of figure it out when they get those. But for you, in your opinion, what is the best way to expand overseas for our listeners?
Well, first and foremost, you have to dare to try, and I think that in itself it can be scary. Again, I want to take you to an example where we had a Swedish customer who was producing some fantastic posters. He was producing everything back in Sweden, and he was shipping everything from his apartment. And of course, how can you price a poster, and especially a framed poster, if you have someone trying to order it from Indonesia? I mean, it's completely impossible. First of all, how long is it going to take? Second, how much will it cost? And what's the chance of that one arriving with a quality or in one piece, I would say.
Right.
So first and foremost, I mean, you have to dare to try. You have to kind of trust yourself for creating a product that's wanted across the planet. And then that's where Gelato with this extreme network will help you. And that Swedish customer, I think was it 90 countries when he kind of looked after having worked with after opening the platform, after kind of saying that, yes, I will start selling globally. And then after not many months, he looked and he had sold to more than 90 countries. And he had actually used production centers in all 33 countries, which was pretty exciting. So I think, how do you do it? I shouldn't say it's easy, because I mean, you have to sell these things. You have to kind of market your products in these different countries. But I can tell you that it's going to be a lot easier to do it with Gelato, where you know that the production will actually be close to your customer. Yeah. You can trust the prices. You can trust transportation. You know it's not going to take 7 weeks to arrive. Most are, I think it's up to 85-90% of our products will always be produced in the same country as your end customer.
Wow.
That's incredible.
And that's with only 33 countries. So that's very telling, you know, that much, that it's only 33 countries that are getting 85% or so of the sales. That's really interesting.
And of course, this is also like part of the history of Gelato, because working with these global companies, I mean, they would kind of ask, or we knew that we would have to place our production partners in those big countries. So we are producing in India, we are producing in China, we are producing in Japan, Korea, US, Mexico, Brazil. So it's kind of, we also, of course, follow business, follow where do people live.
Right. Then the different trends that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And obviously like, I mean, our production partner in Singapore can reach a lot of countries around Singapore in a very short time. So, I mean, we don't have necessarily in every single production in every single country in Southeast Asia, but we would leverage on our Singaporean partner to do this.
So, just digging in a little bit further about like how are these orders routed? Are they is that an automatic thing? So if I have, you know, an order in Singapore, I have an order in Australia, I have an order in Mexico, am I manually selecting the print partners, or is that something that Gelato just automatically does on the back end?
That's something we would do for you. So that's probably where we are spending the most now. What should I say? Mental capacity, or most developers is doing this routing as smart as possible. There's so many things that have to be taken. I mean, you have to look into so many things for doing a good routing. First of all, do they have the products in stock? As close as possible to the customer, the quality of the partner, the speed, the price. What if the customer is ordering 2 products and you can't produce them at the same place? How do you do that as smart as possible? Is it better than to produce it somewhere else where you can do both at the same time? So, I mean, that's where we're introducing AI. I mean, to start helping us doing this as smart as possible. It's also one of those places where Gelato is happy now to have a lot of people joining the team from with background experience from Amazon, from those types of companies, and they obviously know the right answers to ask and help guiding us to making this as good as possible for everyone.
Awesome. So we've talked a little bit about, you know, how to expand overseas for someone that might be listening that wants to do that, but for someone who doesn't have a Gelato account, how would somebody get started with that? Like who is it going, like who is it ideally for? Let's say you're an Etsy seller. What would you do to get going? What does it take, and what does it help you do? And what's that process of onboarding look like for someone that wants to integrate with your services?
Yeah, just like many of our competitors, it would start with finding the Gelato app or just going to gelato.com and signing up. And then we can integrate. We will integrate with all the normal storefronts. I mean, Shopify being the one where we get the most customers, but of course we integrate with Wix, with the WooCommerce, with Etsy, and so many others. Or you can use our API directly. So then you sign up, you choose the products, we integrate, so you get those products into your store. You can do personalization. We have systems for that. We have different other ways, filters that you can be using, some other tools you can be using to improve your products. So I think that's very similar to many of our competitors. The one big difference here is, of course, this global network that you get access to.
Yeah, that's really cool. I want to say one other thing. You mentioned this, but so for me, I actually was selling in Europe for quite a while. I was using Printful at the time. It was before I got into our existing facility, and I remember it was a challenge because I think the facility they had at the time, I believe it was in Lithuania, and they were shipping to all of the EU countries for my Amazon account that I had, and Amazon sells. They have 5 major countries. I guess it's 6 now because they added Poland. But all of the things were coming from Lithuania, and so while that was a benefit that I didn't have to ship it from the US, it was also extremely confusing with like taxes and cross-border, shipments and things like that. With VAT tax and it was all coming from the same country. So I don't want to gloss over the fact that having, somebody in Germany, somebody in England, someone in Poland, and they don't have to go across the border. That can save you a lot of headaches. Just with the taxes, let alone the shipping savings that you get, to experience. So I just wanted to throw that out there as another, I think, cool feature. Paul, is it fair? Do you have? I guess speak to that.
I will do it. And there's nothing more annoying as an end customer than you want to go and pick up your T-shirt and you have to pick it up at the post office and you have to pay extra taxes. You have to pay customs. You have to pay a lot of charges to the post, making that T-shirt be so much more expensive than the price you expected to pay. And of course, I won't say that VAT in Europe is easy, because it's not. It is pretty tricky. It all depends on where you produce, where you ship to, and all this. But at least like producing in the same country avoids surprises. And that's the good thing. That's the benefit of Gelato.
Yeah, totally. So you've been in the print-on-demand game for quite a long time. 2007. I guess you took a little break there for a while, but you're back at it. You've seen a lot of sellers come and go in this game. So I'm just curious, do you have any specific tips for our audience on how to win over time, how to endure over time as an e-commerce seller? Can you speak to that for a little bit?
I can. And of course, as you say, I've seen many come and go in this business. And but I think it's a great place to be. I think there's so many right things of doing production, print on demand these days. It's a fantastic, you have the creator economy coming up, all these people now being able to live off maybe what used to be a hobby. It's fantastic and it's needed. You have the concept of, technology brings so many more products to this, which is great as well. We're just waiting for 3D print to arrive, and it's going to be a feast for everyone. What should I say? Well, there's one thing that is always important, and that's to be very good with your customer, and good customer service, customer obsession will always pay out. Right. I think make sure you have your customers happy, make sure your customers start speaking to their friends, and that's going to be great for your business. So I think customer obsession is probably the best thing or the most important thing for anyone who wants to start any business. The second one I would say is dare to think big, dare to go global, as I was saying previously. I think that's a necessity if you want to build a business. We're very lucky being a Norwegian company, because obviously in a country with 5 million people, you have to think global from day one. If we were building a business only for Norway, it wouldn't be We couldn't live with pretty much. I think that's one thought you need to have is that, okay, I want to have bold ideas, bold plans for my business. And then I think, of course, being good at calculating the margins, making sure you make money off every order, making sure you have a extreme sense of control over all your sales and marketing cost versus your profit, and dare to. I mean, if you are proud of the products you're selling, you shouldn't underprice them.
Sure. Love it. Let's go to. So we have a set of questions that we always ask people, all of our guests. But before we get there, we're going to go to everyone's favorite segment of every show that we do, and I think Travis let you know that you needed to bring one of these to the show, but we're going to go to the dad joke, the weekly dad joke, before we go to the magic question. So cue the dad joke.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
All right, Paul, you are the guest, and as per usual here, we always let the guests go first with their dad joke of the week. So go ahead.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, fantastic. And I've really been looking forward to this. Unfortunately, dad jokes in Norwegian are so much funnier than the English ones. But I did find one that I kind of like. And looking at you, I see that you might like it as well. And that's the I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me.
Okay. Love it. Travis, do you wanna do our dad this week?
I actually you could do the one here, but because I was actually thinking about when you were talking, Paul, you were talking about 3D printing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. Did you know they're actually starting to 3D print guns now? But to me, that's kind of old hat because I've had a cannon for years.
Nice. You pivoted a little bit.
I did. I pivoted.
Joke. No, that was good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So that is this week's dual weekly dad joke. You always get two when there's a guest on the show. So everyone loves interview segments for that reason. But from there, we're going to go to the set of questions we ask everybody, known as the magic questions. Always so heartwarming every time.
Beautiful transitions.
Thank you. Yeah. If we do anything well, it's the arbitrary and unnecessary bumpers that we have for every segment we have on this show. So, all right. So you referenced this before, but we're going to start out with this question. Tell us about a time when something happened in your business that felt like a failure. Like, we don't know how we're going to recover from this. This is just the worst case scenario. Tell us about one of those instances in Gelato's history.
Well, I can take you a couple of years back, and of course, a company that was before we opened the platform, when we were selling ourselves, selling to consumers, selling to businesses. When COVID came, our main products were invitations. Of course, nobody were having any parties or anything that they wanted to invite people for.
Right.
Yeah.
We were selling thank you cards. I don't think anyone had anything to say thank you for. And of course, businesses, it was all about marketing material, business cards, and who would need those during that time. So I mean, those were very, very tough days. What we did understand, of course, is like, number one, that what were people doing? Well, they were redecorating their homes. So that's when we started really focusing on wall art and became big on wall art, and also like learn how to launch new products, launch these wall art products very quickly, efficiently, and well with our partners. So I think by far, I would say, or easily, I would say that this was the toughest couple of days in our business in Gelato's history. But it's also maybe what made us take that leap and becoming that platform. We've been speaking about that for a while, but I mean, that's really when we understood that that's the right thing to do. Our competitors are not being able to ship into Italy, for instance, but we were producing in Italy. Let them use our network to produce. So a great learning experience, which I would say most failures end up being great learning experience, which is
true.
Fantastic thing of building a business. We make tons of mistakes, but luckily we've done many things right as well.
Yeah, I think that's huge for the sustainability of any business. I mean, just long term, if you're not willing to learn from your mistakes, you're not going to last very long. So tip of the cap to you guys. That was a great pivot, all right, next question. If you had to start all over and you lost all of your current contacts, what would you do first?
I think we would never have been where we are without our partners, the production partners, and the efficiency there. And I think working on that part would be where we would start again. With those partners and like being able of like rolling out, getting more partners quickly, I think we would be able to deliver on the other side as well. But I think that's where I would start. If everything was gone, start working with some of the big manufacturers and build a set of partners and do it efficient. Make this be the most valuable work that they can do every day.
Okay, so production partners really are that would be your main focus to kick this thing off if you were going to rebuild it from scratch. That's very insightful.
That's the that's the thing about having a platform and not owning a single production machine. I mean, we are so dependent on them.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, all right, the last one that we'd like to ask everybody. It's time, one of those kind of like Johnny Carson moments where you put on the turban and you predict something, look into your crystal ball, and we'll see here. But what do you think the future of print on demand is? If you had to give your best kind of insight to what you think the future holds, what does that look like?
I think we are all should all be very happy for being in this business. I think there are so many things coming away, and again, I was speaking about the creator economy, just the number of people working on this business that's growing quickly, and just the opportunity of allowing people to live off what used to be the hobby. Just that is a fantastic thing. I think the technology, I mean, bringing new products onto this is going to be an incredible opportunity for us. I mean, imagine 3D print. We've been discussing it previously, but I mean, this can change the manufacturing of the world. I mean, why would you, if you need a piece for your car, why would you have that one sent from Korea if you can print it at home or somewhere close to your home? So I think this combination of the Gelato idea about this local printing and the technology, like adding products onto this platform, I think the creator economy, I think this notion of local versus global, after the pandemic, everybody would choose to support local businesses instead of the large global ones. Yeah, there's just so many things, and of course sustainability, that's obvious. You want to limit the consumption, the CO2 emissions. There's so many good reasons to be in the production on demand, and if you can add local production on demand, I think it's even better. But I think I just see a fantastic future for this industry as a whole.
I think the sustainability piece is only going to increase, just the awareness of it, and then the opportunity to be sustainable in your business when it comes to print on demand. I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the on-demand part of this. I mean, the on-demand part is so important. I mean, why would you produce? If I go back to that history, like again, these large corporations, how it started. I mean, the idea there was that we had a Norwegian customer. They used to print I don't know how many thousand brochures, and then they had someone in their office in Oslo who would like pack thousand brochures and send them to the global offices around
All
the
the
world.
different offices. Yeah.
And of course, the guy who was sitting in Rio, he didn't need 1,000 brochures. I mean, he needed 50. So instead of getting 1,000 brochures shipped from Norway, he could, like, on his mobile phone, order, and our Gelato app could order 50 brochures and have them delivered in 1 or 2 days because they were produced in Rio. That's where we came from, and kind of that's the network that we now allow any e-commerce store, any creator to use, and kind of that leveling of that the playing field is also a great way of seeing Gelato, and like for us, why we want to go to work every day.
That's awesome. Well, Pål actually, Pål and his team at Gelato were kind enough to create a discount code for anybody who would like to try their services. If you want to sign up, you'll get 50% off your first order if you use our little code. We'll put all this in the show notes, but it's you go to the link. It's a bit.ly link, so it's bit.ly, and then it's /printondemandcast-gelato. And then you put the code in when you're checking out to get the 50% off, and that's Gelato_PODcast. So we'll put that in the show notes. If you're driving, please don't wreck. Keep driving. You'll be able to get it later. But I just love this idea of being able to use the location-based. What did you call it? You called it location-based production on demand. I think that's super, super cool. And I think there's probably a lot of our listeners that are thinking about that and how that could potentially impact their business, and the speed of delivery, the reduced shipping costs, the hassle of, like you said, going to the post office and having to pay custom fees, and all of those things being removed from the equation, I think is a huge benefit. So that's really cool. And thank you for providing that link for our people. Really appreciate that.
It's awesome.
So Pål, as we're wrapping up here, why don't you tell people where they can find you, where they can, connect with you if they've got questions that we didn't maybe cover during the interview. Just tell us a little bit about how you'd like for them to reach out to you.
Yeah, no, it's, gelato.com is the best place to go. We have, I would say, the best customer service, customer success team that out there, getting so many, our customers love them when they are, when they need them. They really do the utmost to solve any problems. So gelato.com for that, but you can also go directly to me. PAL@gelato.com, and I will get the mail.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to chat with us all the way from Norway. Very thankful to be able to connect and to get this information out there and let our listeners know exactly what Gelato can do and the advantage that Gelato can give them, especially as we've been talking about internationally and having those production partners in those areas strategically. So that's awesome. So thank you so much. And I look forward to doing this again when, Gelato continues to innovate and expand and bring new features. And so when that time comes, we'd love to have you on again and kind of talk about all the new things Gelato has to offer. But thank you so much for taking time, Pål. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, and thank you to both of you. It's been a pleasure. So thank you for having me and Gelato on the show. It's great.
Absolutely. All right, we'll talk soon. All right, we want to thank Pål again from Gelato for doing the interview all the way from Norway. Again, super incredible. I think for me, one of the coolest things is we touched on it a ton during the course of the interview, but the production partners in 33 countries, and just how advantageous that is for you as a seller to have a production team on the ground in those countries, because it, as we talked about, mitigates a lot of the lead time, the shipping, all of that kind of stuff, can make things a little bit easier on you having that on the ground. And so and it was really cool to hear them kind of starting in paper, in cards and stuff like that, which was cool because I think a lot of our guests came from predominantly apparel or t-shirts or
right.
So seeing that they started doing print on demand in paper goods and then pivoting to apparel and wall art and decor, it was just really cool to hear that story. So I mean, what about you, Travis? What's something, some of the main things that you took away from the interview that you thought were pretty cool?
Yeah, you could probably tell by some of my questions. I was trying to get into the weeds. I was trying to learn more and more about how their systems, and because I asked them on the pre-production meeting. I said, how would you guys define your company? And they were like, well, we're a technology company. We don't own any production. We outsource all of that. And so to go this long since 2007 to today, doing it that way, you've got to really have really amazing systems in place because you have 100+ production partners all over the world, and to be able to interact with them and onboard them and have systems for them, it was very interesting. And me as a production or a fulfillment production house owner, I'm kind of wondering, well, maybe I should sign up for Gelato. Maybe,
how do I'm
actually interested. Yeah.
How does Make Your Mark become a partner? Yeah.
Yeah. And we did talk a little bit about that on the pre-production meeting. It might be something that I look into if for no other reason, just to get behind the curtain a little bit more and understand some of their systems and how they're doing some of these amazing things. But yeah, I was really impressed with that whole local production on demand idea, saving all of the, we talked about it ad nauseum on the show, but, saving like for me, just like I said in the show, it was a pain in the butt to figure out, shipping from one country to all these different countries. It was I never knew what to expect. But having an actual place in the country is huge, I think. And so that, to me, that's their biggest kind of feather in their cap, if you will. And then I want to make sure you guys got the link in the code. It's bit.ly, so bit.ly/printondemandcast-gelato. And that's an affiliate link. So if you sign up with them, we actually do get a cut for the show. And then if you go and actually check out, you'll get 50% off your first order with the code Gelato_PODcast. Again, we'll have that stuff in the show notes. You can check that out. But if there's a chance that you might be selling in different locations, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer to at least give them a try and see how it goes.
Even if you're not selling in different locations, but you want a way to do that would be probably the easiest way to kind of introduce yourself into those markets. Gelato is going to be worth giving a shot to kind of expand internationally, as Paul was talking about on the show. So yeah, give them a try, give them a shot. I mean, I worst case scenario is maybe doesn't work out, and no harm, no foul, and you're back to where you started. Best case scenario is you start moving products in countries that you have no footprint in at the moment. So it could be hugly advantageous just to at least give it a shot. And again, use the discount code, get 50% off, save 50%, on that, giving them a shot. And then we also get a kickback, which is nice for us. We don't do a lot of affiliate stuff, and we don't, Travis and I have talked about ad nauseum that this is a passion project, but if you want to help yourself and take advantage of that offer while simultaneously helping your favorite podcasters, seems like a win-win, and everyone knows that everyone likes to win.
I want to win.
So with that, Travis, anything else on the interview before we wrap this thing up and I go stream of consciousness and just
No, I just really appreciate Pål coming on. It's late at night in Oslo, and or not late at night, but it's evening time. It's past his kind of normal business working hours. So appreciate him accommodating us, and so we could get the show out to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So thank you guys so much for listening. I'm going to try and get through this without stumbling over my words.
I suffered the pressure.
But it's never a promise. But thank you guys so much for listening. As always, the best way to get in touch with Travis and I, the best way to reach out to us is to join the Facebook group, printondemancast.com/Facebook. You can join the community that we're wanting to build over there of people who are in the industry, who have questions, who offer advice, because we know that we're not the experts. We've never claimed to be the experts on everything, only some things. But there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of good perspective that Travis and I might not have. So that's a great place to ask questions and get feedback or to offer advice to the group. So you can also follow us on Instagram and on YouTube. printondemancast.com/Instagram and /YouTube is where you find those each respectively. And wherever you listen to podcasts, the PODcast is there for you. And if you happen to be listening on iTunes, we would love it if you guys left us a review. Let us know what you're thinking of the show. Any topics that you want us to cover, if you have a favorite dad joke, whatever it is, let us know in that medium, in that platform. And if you leave a review, we will shout you out on the show. And if you don't leave a review, well, then you get nothing.
So you get nothing.
So I would suggest just leaving a review and letting us know what you think of the show. Helps the algorithm, helps us get in front of the people who need this content. On Spotify, you can also review us. Only in a star system, though. They don't have a space for a comment quite yet, but I'm sure that is going to be coming in the near future. Travis, any other announcements or things that we need to, housekeeping-wise, let the people know before we continue?
Yeah, one thing, I did check our iTunes reviews, and we don't have a new one, but we have an update from one of our earliest listeners, actually.
Nice.
Chris Kretz, who's Chris is he's in the Facebook group and contributes a lot, and so he just basically did a quick update. Well, let me just read his first one that he did about a year ago. Yeah, it said, since the very first episode, I was hooked. Travis and Josiah cover the full gamut of the print industry and make it relatable to everyone, no matter where they are at or where they intend to be. I love the fact that they are actually in all facets of the business, from printing to sales to POD customers, and even input from direct to consumer via Etsy stores. Thank you guys for all that you do. So that was what he wrote a year ago. Nice. He just updated it recently, and said 2022 update. This show still rocks, and I am still listening 100+ episodes later. So thank you, Chris. That was really awesome. We really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Chris. See, I told you all, if you review, you get a shout out. So thank you so much, Chris. That's awesome. Thank you for the kind words. And we all obviously, value you as a listener, an early adopter of the Print on Demand cast, as it were. So thank you guys so much. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Print on Demand cast. But until then, for Travis, I'm Josiah, and we'll see you next week right here. Same bat time, same bat channel on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe, thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.